So when you're someone who is actually willing to like look into yourself and then try to do something about it, and then I think we get stuck in this loop of like, well, maybe we should have done this better. Maybe we need to look into that. Maybe we need to, I think part of having your peace is sometimes just being at peace with who you are in that moment, which can be difficult for someone who is able to see potential in themselves or potential in others or ways to grow. I think that like it creates a paradigm that your brain gets like confused. I constantly feel like when I tell myself I'm doing good, that is like a lie, or that is me being prideful, or me being boastful. So I shouldn't think that I'm doing good. But then I can't also be on the other end of where it's like, well, you're not shit, and like you ain't shit anyway. So like, nothing that you ever do. And it goes into those kind of spirals. And it's just like I don't know how to navigate that sometimes because I can give reasons for both sides of them. And then there's no peace of mind because you feel like there's no way to find that. I know that you mentioned religion is not your thing, so I won't really delve deep into that. But I feel like for me, religion has helped me. I feel like that has brought me the closest thing to peace because I'm not worried about my peace. I'm worried about asking God for or Jesus for his peace for me to be able to experience that. Because I think it's impossible for a human being, depending what kind of person you are. Some people like they're just totally fine because they're very aloof of things, but I think some of us are like hyperly aware in a way that is not helpful. And especially if you're hyper aware outside, some people are hyperly aware inside. There's still a way to find peace because there's a way to be like happy within yourself. But when you're hyperly aware of like everything that's going on all the time, like you step into the room and you're just like, well, this is overwhelming, or like I got to go back into my house. I think you mentioned that it's can be really hard to like find that peace. So for me, I'm just like, Jesus, like, give me your peace because your girl can't do it on her own. And that has really helped me. Um, I think little by little, and like I'm letting you, I'll be honest, like I try to do the prayer and all that. And even then, sometimes it doesn't necessarily give me that feeling I need to get. I wrote like I go anywhere and nowhere at the same time. Sometimes I'm trying to do it within my house. Sometimes I try to go out to a park. And sometimes I go somewhere and it's like, no. And then I go nowhere and it's like, no. And sometimes I go and I get that glimmer and I'm like, okay, yes, like this is that feeling that I wanted to just release kind of thing. Um, I think something that gets you kind of, or gets me at least, okay, I'm not like saying you, but I think something that I find interesting is I feel like when it's part of your mission in life to do something, like if you feel, because I believe in your video you mentioned how you do believe that it is part of your time here on earth to share your experience so people can understand you as a man, as someone who has gone through trauma, as someone who is black, as someone who is can't remember the fourth thing you said, or if you said a fourth thing, but someone who's gone through things basically, and with your point of view and with your nuances that come with who you are and how you were brought into this world, right? I think sometimes when your mission in life or you feel like there's a purpose within your life and you know that you're in the process of doing it and the gag is like that's your whole life, but like you just feel uncomfortable. You feel like inquieto is a word in Spanish. So it's just like, and it's not anxious, right? But it's just like, I just feel like I got to do something and I need to move forward. I need to write this, or I need to make this video, or I need to make sure, like you said, because if I'm not here, I don't exist to you guys. And I'm trying to do something, but I need to have all these things lined up because this is part of what my purpose is. And I feel like I get into that kind of thing as well. Um, and obviously we have two completely different life experiences, right? I'm a woman, I'm Latina, but I'm white presenting. I went through trauma, but it's probably different. different circumstances, we're different ages. Um, we've done different things, I'm sure, and all that is going to add up to completely unique experiences, but that need to be shared. And I believe that you feel that way. And I believe that just adds that sense of like uneasiness, and not in an uneasiness like, oh, I'm scared, that kind of uneasy, but just uneasy because you feel like, there's something crawling up you and you got to kind of get moving and get doing and get going and get, oh, I got to do this and let me do this and let me make sure this is happening, because unfortunately that is the way this world works, right? Especially now more than ever, you need to like me now, and then I need to make sure that you like me tomorrow. And I need to do stuff in order for that to happen, because our attention span, our care for people, no one, it's no longer a human thing anymore. I feel like we've lost a lot of our humanity in like just the last couple of years of how we view people, of how we understand them, um, of how we monitor people. It's just a completely different, world that we're living in. I mean, yes, things are better, but there are certain things with just the way that the world has become navigated now that it is utterly stressful and utterly inhumane. And when you have a deep desire for actual human connection, and it doesn't mean like having a bunch of friends, it means like this desire to just have someone see you as a human being fully. Not think I'm like amazing, not think they're sorry for me, not like love me or adore me. I mean, all the things are good in their place, but it's like, can you just see me as like a human being? Like, am I allowed to have a problem? Am I allowed to be this? Like, and when did it become whether what am I allowed to do, you know? It's that fight of like, what is society telling you? What did your parents tell you? What did school tell you? Blah, 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 blah. What religion did you grow up? And I'm sure I haven't seen a lot of your work, but I can imagine you're someone who's just always tried to fight, kind of pave their own path and fight their own way and create their own. Even though you're doing things that everyone else is doing, I see you do stand up and you make these videos and you're writing. You're trying to have your own nuance to it because you're human. You want to have your own fingerprint, which is what we all have, right? I think sometimes you just get lost and then you're just tired because you just thought about all that and now you're like, great, now this is hopeless. And feeling hopeless and feeling sad and feeling like, oh, nothing's gonna happen. It's not helpful. It's not helpful to your peace, right? And people are like, well, you just need to control like your bubble. And I understand that. Like that works for a lot of people, but I think for me, even sometimes that is overwhelming because my bubble is always going to be influenced by others. And I feel like in a way you too, because you're a comedian, you have an audience. Yeah, like your jokes can be super funny, like on paper for sure. They're gonna slap or whatever. But it's not until you get the interaction with the audience. Yeah, people can watch your videos and they can be very insightful, but it's still that desire to have that communication. The last part that I wrote was thank God now I'm not alone and I care. Because you wrote like who gives like who cares, right? Who cares what I'm saying? Who cares about any of this? And I genuinely care. And that's why I said I want to make like a video response to this because I care. I really do. And I understand to whatever degree I can as someone who isn't you, as someone who doesn't have your exact experiences and all the nuance that is you. I felt like, yes, you understand me because I have those feelings on a daily basis. And I can go to the most peaceful places and somehow I would just, it is a fight that I have been fighting and I feel like I'm going to fight for the rest of my life. Just to have a taste of this peace. And I don't think it's like a clearing your mind piece. I think it's just like when you can finally be like, and it doesn't feel like you just strained your whole life away. Like it just feels natural. Like the moment I can feel everything is pulsating and the wind. I don't know. And perhaps like there's an idolatry to that. Like we're, you're I'm idolizing. Let me not say you. My bad. I could be idolizing that idea of what peace looks like, right? But I think if I can assure myself that I'm continuing on doing things I need to do, that will be where I can find my peace. And it is moments, not like ages. Because being a human is a very unique thing. And I believe that the point is to feel every feeling: happy, sad, mad, excited, exasperated, that like kind of anxiety, fear kind of thing. All of those are what makes the human like palette, like if you're painting, like all the colors. It's like you get something like this instead of something that would just be like black and white or just literally the canvas because there's no, feeling. There's no nuance. There's no, I don't know, like today I woke up and I felt really this, and then tomorrow I wake up feeling this, and like I don't really know the particular reason. And I guess I could go into a deep like psychoanalysis of why or whatever, but at least I got to feel that way. And I think like I just am happy when I have those like flashes of peace. And I think being present in those moments is what helps you the most. And yes, hearing you saying that, I felt like, cool, I'm not alone. And like I knew I wasn't because I don't think I'm that special. Um, but I think it's always nice to hear somebody else say that. And I care. I really do. I know I probably should have done like a deep dive of all your stuff or whatever, but I'm very happy to have found this page. And I feel like through there, I'm going to be able to understand you, but overall understand other people because that's always the goal, right? Because we're really not alone in this. I think for me, that's one of our big things that's going on right now, um, especially in the US. We want to prove just how different we are. And yes, that's true. There's nuance to race, to gender, to where you grew up. If you grew up in a city, even what city, right? If you grew up in LA, it's probably different than when you grew up, if you grew up in, I don't know, New York City. But I think that sometimes that does us more of a disservice because I think sometimes certain people are like very down with you being different and understanding, like, oh my gosh, like you're different than me. Like I would love to understand that. But I think most people don't give a shit. Like I think most people really like, and I don't know if they don't give a shit or if it's like out of their brain realm or something, because like I guess we are technically innately selfish animals. I don't know. But I always feel like when you're able to find like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that like you did that. And it's like, yeah, we're more the same than you think, idiot, like because of where we come from or whatever. I have I have two immigrant parents. I grew up in LA. Um, and I got to go to like special schools, and these kids were a little bit better off than me, especially in like my elementary and middle. And I remember talking to them and they would say things like, "Oh yeah, like we actually do that too. That's cool. That's interesting." And I'm just like, it's not crazy. Like, it doesn't there are less barriers in what there really needs to be. And that's nuanced, okay? So relax, everybody. And unclench your pearls or your butt cheeks, whatever you're fucking clenching. But the reason why I say that is I believe nuance is important because we need to understand that there are obviously differences in a lot of different ways from, like I mentioned earlier. But I think most people, if you cannot start by letting them know how you are actually similar to them, it does not allow them to then appreciate and understand your differences. Because people are going to say, okay, yeah, you're so different than me. Then why the fuck would I even try to understand you? And I've had that happen before, like to me. And like, I know I look like a white girl, so relax, everybody, okay? But It is just certain things, you know, like they people are putting stops when the road is fucking clear. Like we could just take the road. It's okay. It is better to find those differences because then the nuances can be appreciated better. And that's just my personal opinion. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm fine with that. But I've always felt that. I feel that common ground helps us let down our guard and understand and have a real honest conversation. Or look at a person and see them as a person. Because people, it seems to be better when they can see you in them, it helps them 100%. I've always felt that way because I've always felt like when I try to tell people like how I'm feeling or like what I'm thinking, and they're like, oh my gosh, like, what is your problem? But if I kind of notice things about them, like, okay, for example, like I have a necklace, right? Or my nails or a ring or the clothes, right? I'm like, I just love soft sweaters. You know, all of a sudden, a conversation can be started, which is fucking ridiculous. Like we should just be able to talk in general, right? But it seems to be that type of thing. I feel like now I'm rambling. Um, but I really loved your video and I wanted to just make like a little response and I think I'm gonna email it to you. Um, yeah, I'll probably email it to you. But my answer is you go literally nowhere and anywhere. I think for me, religion has been what's helped me the most because I am able to live and breathe what is not mine. I understand you're not religious, and I understand, I don't know what religion you came from, but that has what has helped me because I feel like sometimes it's just like out of my hands. And like I don't want it in my hands. Like it's out of my hands and like it will always be out of my hands. But God can help me through that. Because if it's not supposed to be in my hands, it's not supposed to be in my hands. And then I can just kind of move on from that. And moving on does not mean like I don't care anymore. Uh, it's just there is a more ease, there is a peace. I think that's the thing that I am kind of learning is like in the weirdest way, like which is so such a like a human thing. There can be like literally two opposing things going on at the same time. And like perfectly fine. Like perfectly fine. Like they're not going to hit each other and they're going fine. So it's like I feel like a peace in this way, but also there is still that care that I may have for that person or that ambition that I have for myself. But I can feel a peace. There's like an overlining peace that can wrap that up, even though that emotion is still there. Because I don't think sometimes like I think certain feelings, like when you get really obsessed and like you're going too far, it's like, okay, you gotta drop it. But I think sometimes, most of the time, allowing your feelings to be felt is not that bad of a thing. It's okay. I feel like when we don't want to feel them or we want to be like, I never want to worry. I never want to be confused. I never want to be mad. I never want to be sad. I feel like that doesn't help ever because those are indicators of things that are going on, whether it is internally, externally, or like spiritually, whatever, however big you want to get in the thoughts. Um, yeah. So thank you. I really appreciate the conversation that you opened up. And I don't know. Hopefully something can be taken from here the same way that I was able to get something from your video. I really do appreciate it. Thank you.